Welcome to Clevedale Vets Equine. My name's Alistair Love and I'm one of the partners here at Clevedale Vets, and I'm also an RCVS recognised advanced practitioner in equine practice. Today we'll be talking a bit about bandaging, about some of the materials that we use, and also how we're going to apply the bandage and do that safely. I was recently involved in doing an article for Your Horse magazine, and in that magazine some of the questions that were coming in were relating to first aid and about the right kind of bandage materials and other bits that you need in order to be able to look after your horse in emergency. And one of the key things that came out of there is that the big factor with bandaging is actually applying the bandage properly. So that's something we're going to talk through today. So when we're talking about bandaging, the first place we have to start is the materials that we're going to use. And the first place we start with our materials is the primary dressing. Primary dressing is called the primary dressing because this is the first bit of bandaging material that we apply, and it's the part of the bandage that we apply directly to the wound. The most common primary dressing we're going to use would be a melanin. These are very cheap, very easy to keep in your first aid kit. You can get them from your veterinary practice, you can get them from pharmacy websites. They're quite widely available. And a melanin has it's a thin layer of primary dressing, has a shiny side, which is the bit that's non-stick. That's the bit that we apply to the wound. Not very good for wounds that are discharging a lot, it's not particularly absorbent, but in a first aid situation it's great. You can put it on, and then obviously if the vet's examining the wound when they come out, they can obviously take it off, so there's no massive need to use anything else. There are foam dressings, that's another primary dressing. These are very absorbent and are used for wounds that discharge a lot. And we've got Manuka dressings, which are Manuka honey, medical Manuka, and these are good for wounds that discharge a lot or where we're concerned about infection. And the good news about the Manuka honey dressings is that they can be left on for a number of days. The second layer that we put on a dressing, we're normally going to use something like orthoband or soft band. Again, you can get these from your vet. This provides a soft layer of bandage that we wrap around the leg. It secures the primary dressing in place, but it also provides a soft layer in order to protect the leg before we apply the cotton wool. After that layer, it's very, very important that we apply some padding. Cotton wool or ganji. I much prefer cotton wool because you can lay it on much more evenly, and we're going to use cotton wool to pad the bandage, but also we're going to use the cotton wool as an extra layer to absorb any discharges that might come through the primary dressing. We then have usually a cohesive bandage layer. Vet Wrap's the common brand of that, but there are lots available. My advice when choosing a cohesive bandage to keep in your first aid kit is that you choose a bandage that's 10 centimetres in length or wide, because that allows us to get better coverage, and also to choose one of a reasonable quality so it's nice and strong and relatively sticky. A lot of the cheaper ones, they tend to tear easily, they're very thin, or they're just very, they don't have very good width, they're very small, and they end up being a bit of a false economy in my opinion. And then at the end of our bandage, we're going to use a little bit of elastoplast in order to secure the bandage in place at the top and the bottom, and that stops it from rolling down. So now we're going to talk about, now we know a bit more about the materials, about practically applying the bandage to the horse's leg and doing that safely. So as we discussed, we're going to start with our primary dressing. We will imagine we've got a wound here. A common area for wounds is on the cannon region, so that's where we'll focus our bandage. So we're going to take our primary dressing and we're going to consider applying it to the wound there. One of the things I would try and do is to try and make sure that you've got your soft bandage just across the back of your dressing. Makes it a lot easier to keep it in place, especially if your horse is moving around or being a bit difficult about it. Now remember, when we're rolling dressings on, we want to roll away. If we start rolling them on this way around, it gets very difficult to handle the material. So we're going to apply our dressing, hold it in place, then roll around. And you'll notice we're rolling, like I say, away from the roll there. If you go in the opposite direction with your roll, you'll just find it's very, very difficult and clunky. And we're applying an even layer of the orthoband here. And we're going to go up to the knee, but we're not going to go beyond it because bandaging above the knee is a lot more tricky. There's a couple of pressure points on the back of the knee and on the hock where you can cause a lot of damage. So it's very, very important that we only bandage the areas that we're comfortable with. Your vet would definitely need to supervise you if you're going to bandage above the knee. So once we've got our orthoband layer on, we're going to apply some cotton wool. I like to take a little bit of cotton wool here and just apply it at the back of the pastern. That will make the bandage more even. But for bandaging for owners, again, for a first aid basis, that's not absolutely essential. And again, we're going to layer the bandage on. A lot trickier in finer legs. And we're going to layer this material on around so that we've got a nice even layer, and so that we can provide a smooth layer. If you provide a lot of lumps in your bandage, that will generate pressure points, and that can be dangerous for the horse's leg. The next layer we're going to put on is our vet wrap, or our cohesive layer. And the key to this is not to apply it too tight. It doesn't want to be too slack because then it will come off. But if you apply it too tight, or you don't provide enough padding, you're going to be in a position where you could badly damage the leg. I'm going up to the knee, and then I'm going to bring that back down again. But you'll notice I'm putting it on firmly, but not with a lot of pressure. And remember that these cohesive bandages, they're going to tighten up anyway as you layer them on because they're stretchy. Once the bandage is on, we can see that we have a nice, smooth, even bandage without lumps or bumps. That's really important because, as I say, that will stop pressure sores and stop the bandage causing more problems than it's solving. And then once we're done with that, we're going to apply a little bit of elastoplast at the top and at the bottom, and then we're going to snip that off with some scissors, and that's the bandage complete. If you don't have any elastoplast, then this kind of bandage is fine for the short term. So if it's for first aid, this kind of bandage is absolutely fine. As with all things with horses, very important if you're applying a bandage to your horse, firstly, that you do it safely. You'll notice I'm not on my knees. Always stay on your feet, and then if the horse does something unexpected, you can get out of the way. The other element is to make sure that you've got somebody handling your horse, to make sure that it's safe, and to make sure that your horse is compliant and is okay with having the bandage applied, so that you don't get hurt. That's especially true on a back leg. Wounds can be painful, and if you're in any doubt, you should contact your vet before applying one. So that's bandages. Hopefully that allows you guys to be able to put a bandage on safely. And the key take-home messages are: make sure you provide plenty of padding, make sure it's safe to put the bandage on, and make sure that you don't put your vet wrap on too tight. And that should save you doing any further damage, whilst also helping to keep wounds clean and to look after them. So thank you to Oliver for his hard work, standing here getting bandaged and being so very calm. And we'll have more videos coming your way with other useful tips, and you can find those by keeping an eye on our website, which is clevedaletvetsequine.co.uk, or by keeping an eye on our Facebook page, or obviously the YouTube channel, and Clevedale Vets Equine. Thanks very much.